Today on the CTV News at 5, funding cuts fallout.
From a people perspective, it's very damaging to the institution as well as very demoralizing to people. So we're trying to avoid that as much as possible.
Where the U of L is looking at cutting costs. Plus, a southern Alberta family with a very sick baby says they were denied care because of who they're related to. And bargain shop no more. A downtown Lethbridge business closes its doors for good.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. We're getting a better idea of how the University of Lethbridge plans to handle millions of dollars in funding cuts from the province. The institution has made a number of cuts, but is still $2 million shy of reaching its goal of eliminating nearly $12 million from the budget. As Daryl Rummold reports, that news has staff concerned and students frustrated.
The school that's labeled itself a destination university is now trying to figure out how to keep attracting visitors.
It's not good news for us students. While
tuition costs may be frozen, fees are most certainly not, especially at a university desperately trying to find $11.8 million by mid-May.
We've made good progress. I mean, we are closer than I thought we would be, to be honest, when we started this process.
The U of L is now forced to make major cuts because of the 7.3% rollback on the cash from the province. That has some saying it will do nothing more than hurt students' education.
We've had the government indicate that the budget will not be balanced on the backs of students, and we're not completely seeing that. They said they will not raise tuition, but then there's this loophole that fees are going up.
From a people perspective, it's very damaging to the institution as well as very demoralizing to people. So we're trying to avoid that as much as possible.
The university's president says some of the money will come from a voluntary retirement program, but those teaching positions will not be filled. They'll be down 34 teachers, maybe students, leaving major concerns whether students will choose the school at all.
And all these things have a direct impact on students. What we're trying to do is to make sure that in the end we make the right decisions so that while there is going to be a direct and dramatic impact, that we are still able to offer a quality experience at the University of Lethbridge.
The university's budget has not yet been balanced, and there are still some tough decisions ahead of management. They say they're looking for ways to cut down costs without greatly impacting students or the faculty. For now, they'll strive to maintain their core values: people, quality, and access. But at what cost remains to be seen. Daryl Rummold, CTV News, Lethbridge.
The university's budget will be presented to the board on May the 15th for final approval. Now, on the topic of provincial cuts, tomorrow a rally is being held protesting $42 million in funding cuts for people with developmental delays. That rally gets underway 1 p.m. at the Civic Park. Dory Rossiter, we are so happy to see you today and happy to see those temperatures almost getting up to 20 later this week.
I know, and we even went above our estimated high today, which was 9 degrees. We hit 10 degrees for a high, so we got warmer than what we expected. It was a very nice day out there, even though we had some cloud cover. A little pocket of low pressure kind of skipped over the area of high pressure, and I'll show you that when we get into the maps. But for the next several days, we're looking at pretty nice conditions, and I'll tell you all about that too in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. Well, imagine rushing your child to the doctor because of a medical emergency and then being told you'll have to go elsewhere because the doctor has an issue with one of your relatives. A southern Alberta couple is claiming that's just what happened to them earlier this month. As Terry Vogt reports, Dan and Carolyn Stefan have filed a complaint with several bodies, including the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta.
The concerns that I bring up are grave concerns.
Dan Stefan says the nightmare began when their 7-month-old daughter's Serenity began showing minor symptoms of illness and loss of appetite. They set up a doctor's appointment for the next day, but by then her condition had worsened. Stefan says she was lethargic, her eyes were rolling, and she wasn't making baby noises. But when they arrived at the Raymond Clinic, Stefan says the doctor did only a quick check before explaining he was going to refer them to another doctor in Lethbridge.
We have a doctor who indicated that he has a clear bias against me personally because I'm related to an individual who was criminally charged in the child's death who had meningitis.
That individual is Dan's brother Dave, who along with his wife Colette was charged with failing to provide the necessities of life in connection with the death of their son Zeke almost a year earlier.
What they're going through has nothing to do with me and my family. So why is that being brought into the critical care of my small children, which very narrowly almost cost my daughter her life?
Stefan says they were referred to a different doctor in Lethbridge, 30 minutes away. During that trip, Serenity took another turn for the worse, falling limp and unconscious. Dan says he called 911 while his wife worked to keep Serenity's airway open in the back seat. They met an ambulance near the airport.
It crossed my mind, this is the nightmare that my brother went through.
The EMS crew was able to stabilize Serenity, and she was taken to the Chinook Regional Hospital. But for the family, the nightmare wasn't over yet. In a formal complaint submitted to the College of Physicians and Surgeons and the Chinook Health Region, the Stefans alleged their daughter was subjected to an unnecessary blood transfusion and given excessive levels of intravenous liquids.
And she's being pumped full of so much liquid that her skin is becoming literally tight. Basically, they're blowing her up like a water balloon.
As Serenity's condition continued to deteriorate, she was eventually flown to the Alberta Children's Hospital in Calgary, where treatment was scaled back to just antibiotics.
And within literally 24 hours, the child became well again. They couldn't believe it. She bounced right back.
In their complaint, the Stefans allege their daughter's condition would have been easily detected with tests that could have been done in Raymond. Instead, they were turned away.
And we all share the same concern. If this is going to happen to a baby when we bring her in for critical emergency type care, and he turns us away because he has a bias, that's a dangerous situation.
Terry Vogt, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Naturally, we contacted Alberta Health Services about the story, and we were told because the complaint is against a doctor that it's actually a matter for the College of Physicians and Surgeons. Now, a college spokesperson said they can't comment on individual cases or even confirm that a complaint has been filed. But we were told physicians are expected to follow a code of conduct. That code says doctors should avoid discrimination based on a number of conditions, including marital or family status.
Number one for any physician is to consider first the well-being of the patient. In an emergency, we would expect that the physician would provide whatever care to the patient they can to the best of their ability. That may mean sometimes referring a patient to another center if the appropriate care isn't available locally. But if a patient feels that they have been discriminated against, we do encourage them to contact the college.
The Raymond Health Clinic declined to comment or respond to the allegations. After 50 years in Lethbridge, one of the downtown area's most affordable places to shop has shut its doors. And many folks living and working in the area aren't too happy about it. Jeanette Roche reports.
These empty shelves are all that's left of what was one of the busiest retailers in downtown Lethbridge. The bargain shop officially locked its doors this week. Now workers inside hustle to empty the space before the store's lease expires the end of the month. But those who frequent the downtown area feel they're not left with much of a shopping option, especially when it comes to groceries.
I feel sad about the closing because it's close by for us when we go buy some cream for our coffee at my program over there.
There isn't a whole lot that's close. You know, Safeway used to be down here, which was awesome. And, you know, like now we're left with just little gas stations and that's it.
It has very good deals. It has what I like.
What made the retailer so popular was its location. It's right at the downtown bus terminal, meaning all downtown routes start and end at this spot, making it convenient for those traveling by transit.
It's easy for me. Get off the bus, go inside, get something, what I want.
It's kind of a shame for the people that ride the bus. It was easy to stop here and stuff and grab whatever, you know, little things you needed and at Christmas time, it was really good too. We did a lot of shopping here. It was a bargain, you know.
The downtown location has been here for half a century, originally operating under the name Woolworth. Now, the building's owner declined to be interviewed on camera, but says that the bargain shop hasn't been paying their rent in several months and they're not renewing their lease. He hopes to re-rent this space in an effort to keep the downtown area alive. Jeanette Roche, CTV News, Lethbridge.
CTV has been trying to get a response from the bargain shop for several weeks now. However, no one has returned our calls. According to their website, the company is on the verge of bankruptcy and is closing several of its stores across Canada. Pigs, horses, and chicks all have a new home for a few days. The annual Aggie Days kicked off today at Exhibition Park to the delight of families and their Egan children. Keaton Gerbavik reports.
Aggie Days has once again taken over the North Pavilion at Exhibition Park. This event gives local businesses the chance to introduce youngsters to the agricultural industry. Hands-on displays such as milking and calf roping were a big hit for the kids. Teacher's assistant Natalie McKay says the kids enjoy taking part in the interactive displays.
Well, it's a good way for the children to get to know the agricultural environment around our community, and learning and seeing and hands-on really sticks with them.
Irrigation farmer Bob Dykstra says teaching kids about the industry is rewarding, but says kids aren't the only ones who can learn from the displays.
Well, our whole mandate, if you want to call it that, is about education. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're younger or older, there's always something you can learn about any industry in southern Alberta, but particularly the ag industry, which is very important.
McKay adds that the kids get the chance to experience activities that the classrooms simply can't offer.
They get really excited, especially seeing the sheep being sheared and the branding being done on the wood. It's experiences that they wouldn't normally, see and be able to do.
Aggie Days are more than just a venue for local agricultural businesses to showcase their products. It also gives families the chance to explore the industry that keeps southern Alberta sustainable. Keaton Gerbavik, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Aggie Days wrap up tomorrow. Well, for the second straight year, Slow Food Southern Alberta celebrated Earth Day at the Galt Museum. The highlights are inside this week's episode of Farm.tv.
Food and their wisdom, they'll talk about how farming has changed over.
They came to us last year, Slow Food Southern Alberta, and said, Earth Day, we should be celebrating what Mother Earth is giving us. So there's a group of farmers and producers and processors here today from Southern Alberta that are offering samples, telling their story, and just sharing all the goodness that we have here to share.
Slow Food Southern Alberta also took the opportunity to release the second edition of their popular Faces of Our Food directory.
Last year we published 2,000 and they were gone virtually overnight. This year we've published 5,000. We have 32 different good, clean, fair producers in the booklet. So they tell their story, they tell where you can come to get whatever it is you'd like to get, and how to contact them. So we're really proud of it. There's a lot of really good people in here, hardworking people, farmers, people that are selling their product because it's value added. So we're doing things here in Southern Alberta.
And of course, a number of the producers featured in the directory were among the producers that were on hand at the Galt, giving out samples, selling products, and connecting with consumers.
Farm TV is brought to you by DA Building Systems.
On to the financial markets, where the Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged more than 150 points this afternoon after hackers sent out a fake tweet about an attack on the White House. The tweet on the main account for Associated Press said U.S. President Obama had been injured. The AP has suspended its Twitter account. Markets have rebounded. Here are the day's numbers.